Thank you for joining us today. I'm Joanna from BookBoost. We are a CRM created for hospitality. And as many of you know, every month we host webinars together with our great partners to talk about every topic interesting for hospitality. So today I'm in company of some great people, and we are going to talk about the pre-arrival stage of the guest journey. A topic that is super important because we know that as much as every stage of the guest journey is important, the pre-arrival is what sets the first impressions before guests even get to set a foot in your property. So today we are going to talk about how to build this amazing pre-arrival experience, how you can hook guests early so they're already excited about getting to your property. Either you are a hotel, hostel, service apartment, this is going to be interesting for you. So I encourage you to take notes as we dive into these tips and advice and strategies that you can use. But it's not just going to be me talking the entire hour. Of course, I'm joined by some great people today, and I'm going to start to introduce them to you. So first, we have Sabina from User Guest. Hi, Sabina, how are you?
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and looking forward to having this great webinar with everyone.
Perfect. Thank you for joining us today. Next, we have Marco from Atomize. Hi, Marco. How are you doing?
Hi, Joanna. Well, thank you very much for the invitation. Amazing, and looking forward to a very nice and inspiring call today.
Yes, definitely. We continue. We have Consuela from Upsell Guru. Hi, Consuela. How are you?
Hi, I'm very well. Nice to see you all today and very excited for the webinar as well.
Yes, we're excited as well. And last but not least, we have Anna from BookBoost. Hi, Anna. How are you doing?
Joanna, hey everyone. Happy to be here. Super excited to be part of the conversation, and thanks for inviting me.
Amazing. So everyone is excited. So that's good. Everyone wants to share ideas. That's perfect. And now let's dive in a little bit in the topic that we have today. So normally when we talk about pre-arrival, I think there is a very strong focus on upselling. And yes, it's a great space for upselling. However, there are some other things that you can also do to leverage the pre-arrival stage, right? And that's why we are here from different areas. So we can take a look at everything that involves or how you can leverage every aspect of your business during the pre-arrival stage. So we're going to talk today, we're going to go from communication to pricing to upselling to user experience, personalization, and so on. But first, I want to start dropping a question for everyone, not just for our panelists, but also for the people that is joining us today. And it is for you guys, what is the key for a successful pre-arrival experience? And I don't want you to give me long answers. I just want one word. So think about one word that will describe a successful pre-arrival experience. I'm going to start with mine. And what do I think is key for a successful pre-arrival experience? For me, the word will be planning. That will be my word. I will invite our panelists to just unmute yourselves and jump in if you already have your word. And whoever wants to drop one, then on the chat, please go ahead.
Okay.
My word would be, oh, sorry, Anna.
No, you go first, Sabina, you go.
I'm going to probably state one of the obvious ones, personalization.
Personalization. Okay, we have one more in the chat just before we continue. It's called, Joanna is mentioning communication. That's great. Okay, who else? Let's go. Anna, you wanted to continue, I think?
Yeah. My word is taken. It was actually personalization as well. And second one, communication. So I don't have to add anything there.
Okay. We have personalization, we have communication. Personalization times 2, then we have planning. Who else wants to share a word?
I think for me, oh, sorry.
Well, go ahead.
I would say experiences and yeah.
Experiences. Okay, perfect. Let's stick to one word. Experiences. Okay.
I would say it's a bit similar to yours. Speaking revenue, I would say preparation. Yeah, for sure.
Preparation, yes, definitely. Okay, so we have different angles, and actually, I think all of the words are inside the topics that we're going to talk about today. So that's even more exciting. If anyone else in the chat has any other idea that you want to share, what is the key to you for a successful pre-arrival experience, then leave it in the chat. So far, we have Joanna with communication. So we want to hear more about what you think. Just make sure to write it in the chat. And if you have any questions, go ahead and use the Q&A function. You can find it as well there, either the chat or the Q&A function, and we will be answering your questions as it continues. We have some new keywords, so that's great. We have anticipation, we have transparency. Amazing. Perfect. So let's continue then, and let's jump right into our questions for today. And let's start with first impressions. So Sabina, I have a question for you. Let's talk a little bit about the website when a brand, right, is already in interactions with the guest. How can you make sure of delivering a great first impression from the beginning? From the beginning and this relationship between the brand and the guest? Either focusing on the website or focusing on your digital assets. What would you say are the keys to give a great first impression?
Yeah, when it comes to the website, the first impressions definitely matter. From experience, we know that a lot of times people visiting the website are actually coming from OTAs, and they just want to visit the website to find more information. So it's very important that that information is easily available for them. Apart from that, of course, there's other building blocks that you always need to have. So, for example, fast loading time, you don't want to create frustration and high bounce rates. So the first thing, the website needs to load fast, it needs to be mobile optimized. And then we go into other details such as clean and intuitive design, high quality visuals that communicate some of your unique features. And then we go even a step further where we go into personalized content. So making sure that the content that every user sees on the website is relevant to them specifically. Another important thing also is the call to action, so that you're just making it easy for the guest to go from one step to the other. So from arriving on the website, finding the right information that is relevant to them, to actually completing a booking. I think this is one of the most important things when it comes to the website.
Exactly. And what you were mentioning, I think is super important, right? Because it's not just about how fast it loads, but actually if it has the relevant content. And think about it, the website is actually the first impression of a brand with the guest, because they will be on your website first before arriving at the property, right? So if they go to a website and then the information, you haven't changed the information in 2 years, you haven't updated the pictures. If you go to calendar, it's still showing the events from 2023, although we are September 2024, then what is the impression that you are leaving them? Are you creating this excitement, right? Of like, hey, I want to be there. This looks so cool. Or it's more like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, also another thing that we also notice, sometimes the policies are not very well displayed, the pricing isn't clear. So clear, personalized communication on the website is key. And of course, just visually appealing website that's making them excited from the get-go.
Definitely, 100% agree. And that's one point. And if we want to make first impressions count, because they do, then let's pay attention to our assets. Let's continue with this. And now that we're talking about first impressions, there's something that happens right away after a guest makes a booking, is that we start with the communication. And a lot of people mentioned that communication was key, right? To create a good pre-arrival experience. And planning was also key. So let's look at how this mix. So Anna, then we know that communication during pre-arrival is obvious, like it has to happen, but you have communication and you have successful communication. So how do you create the right communication strategy for pre-arrival? And it would be great if you give me your best tips, like actual things that people can do.
Okay, sure. I would say my first advice is to get to know your audience and to identify key groups. As a basic start, you could make a difference between first-timers versus returners. And for first-timers, you include instructions, for example, how to reach the hotel or how to check in online. But for returners, you don't need to say that because they are already familiar with it. And as you get more practice on it, you could build guest journeys for different segments, such as business guests, leisure guests, families, couples, and so on. And with a CRM, you can link this with data. My second advice is to create a value-led communication. If you're only sending offerings or selling your guests something, it gets tiring. But if you instead send them helpful information, it's perceived as a great service. On this, we have put together an article on our web or our blog and 9 tips for pre-arrival communication. Maybe we can post it here in the chat, Johanna. If not, we can send it to you, the link afterwards. Then my third tip would be automation. You cannot deliver a personalized and superior experience by doing everything manual. Your staff will go crazy. Tech is there to help, and your CRM should offer different options to automate the guest journey. And last but not least, I would say test and iterate, monitor and evaluate.
Perfect. Great, Anna, thank you. So let's make a summary. Then the first tip was to make a difference, right? Between, let's say, the basic first-timers and returners. Don't tell them the same. And then as you try it, then you can try other more evolved segmentations or more like personalized. Then to value-led communication, I think this is great because brands, it's very common that you only get offers, only get like, oh, do you want to upgrade this? Do you want to upgrade that? And that's great. You need to offer your services. But if you only talk about sell, the customer gets bored. The guest gets bored and says like, you know what, I'm unsubscribing of everything. I don't want to talk to you ever again. So it needs to be a mix and it needs to be value-led for sure. And automation, fully agree as well, because it's not possible to keep up with everything, just doing it manually. Definitely agree with that. So I hope you guys are taking notes. And yes, we just posted on the chat the article that Anna was referring to, which is tips for a successful pre-arrival communication. But let's continue, because we said that upselling is a really big part and central part of the pre-arrival experience, right? But just as with communication, there are things that you can do to make the upselling experience way better, way more personalized, way more elevated, stand out from competition, which is what you want, because you want guests to be excited, to have a cool impression of your brand and not just a boring one. So Consuela, let's talk about this. How can you do upselling in the correct way during pre-arrival? When to do it? How many times? What are your tips for this?
Perfect. Thank you so much. That's a great question, Joanna. So let me break it into 3 parts, just you said, how to upsell, when to upsell, and how many times. So on how to upsell, we see that there are 3 key elements on successful upselling. So number 1 is preparation, number 2 is right pricing, and number 3 is automation. So what I mean by preparation is to clearly outline these unique selling points of each room type. You have to highlight what are the differences, what is the value that you offer with each room type and with all the experiences that you want to upsell. So it's all about the experience. It's not just, selling another room. With pricing, every guest values the experience very differently. So when it comes to defining the right price, we actually let the guest decide. So at Upsell Guru, what we do is we put the guest at the driver's seat and let them tell us how much are they willing to pay for this experience through bidding. And number 3 is automation. Of course, you want to automate everything in the process, and we've already talked about it in this webinar. And you have to find the right process partner for that to make sure that it's as efficient as possible. For the when to upsell, the most effective time is really when the guest is in that packing, dreaming phase, which is typically 3 to 4 days before their arrival. This is when they're visualizing their trip and they're open to spending more money on the booking. And now how many times to do it? Actually, for us, it's not really how many times you communicate with the guest, but rather than having the right touch points. So for us, successful upsell strategy involves combination of pre-arrival, on arrival, and in-stay communications. And I know the topic today is on pre-arrival, but it's just crucial to mention that covering these 3 touch points will really help you to hit that larger audience, and having it all connected is very important, because typically the hotels probably be able to contact around 70% of their guests prior to the arrival. So we're missing in about these 30 or even more percentage of guests before the arrival. But everybody passes by the front desk upon check-in. So this will really gives you access to the higher audience. And another very important aspect to mention is that there might be also change of decision makers. So let me give you an example. Just a few weeks ago, I went for a vacation with my partner and he made all the bookings. So he thought that spa was not relevant for our trip. But then once we arrived to the hotel, of course, I went ahead for the spa package because now the decision maker have changed, which is me, and I wanted to go for that package. So yeah, I hope this answers your questions.
Definitely great information. That's such an interesting point about putting the guest at the driver's seat. I don't know if any of our, like the people that have joined the webinar or that are watching this recording of the webinar later have tried that, but I think it sounds super interesting as well to let the guest choose. That's amazing. And yes, obviously, although this webinar is about pre-arrival, every stage of the guest journey is important, and it's an opportunity for you to have a relationship with your guests. So thank you for mentioning, Consuela. Okay, perfect. So yeah, don't forget that you can ask your questions using the Q&A function or the chat for any of our panelists. If you have a specific question, just mention it. If you have a general question, just put it in the chat as well, and we do our best to answer it. Now let's move on. And let's go a little bit into pricing, because sometimes we believe that pricing only matters if, like, before they make a booking, but actually there are some other ways that you can leverage a pricing strategy during pre-arrival. And Marco, you are going to tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, as I said, my keyword is preparation, as we've already heard here so often, and doing your homework to prepare the ground before you start. And also broken down in 3 different topics, which topic 1 is dynamic pricing and reevaluation tactics. And that means once a booking is confirmed, the hotel's overall inventory is changing. It is critical to continuously reassess the room rates, considering the updated market conditions, the competitor pricing, and remaining availability. A modern RMS allows hotels to monitor and adjust the pricing based on real-time changes. And in real-time really sounds like, I mean, for atomized real-time means every 5 minutes, and per room category independently to catch these, say, already heard about the Taylor Swift effect, to ensure you capitalize on the most profitable opportunities leading up to the arrival date. Topic number 2 is monitor the competitor pricing and the market trends closely. That means keeping an eye on the local competitor pricing and responding with adjustments in real time. And that helps to ensure you remain competitive while not losing out on revenue opportunities. But be careful, since you do not want to blindly follow what the competition does. Atomize, for example, we review it 4 times a day without rate shopper, by room category independently, to ensure you are priced accurate, and on top you can decide up to how much we shall take into consideration what the competition does. Maybe you just Maybe you do not, maybe you have 20 people in your comp set, 20 properties, but you only make a decision when one or two of those guys is changing something. So you can put a weighing system behind. Do not just blindly follow these guys. And then number 3 is use historical data to identify trends. A good pricing strategy starts with knowing your past. Well, of course, I know the pandemic has changed something, but not completely everything. I hear this quite often nowadays. Forget about the past and everything has changed. Well, I speak to a very high number of hoteliers where that is not the case. It has changed, yeah. But review your historical data and recognize patterns such as which months or weekdays see higher demand. And that helps to ensure you're pricing optimally even before a guest arrives. So a modern RMS can do this for you, as well as Atomize has these sorts of insights baked into the algorithm, which determines price recommendations, taking all of it into consideration and adds the weighing behind on past booking patterns, forward-looking demands and trends. Look at seasons and events to ensure the optimal price to enter the market with and to avoid pricing fluctuations. And once you have prepared the ground and you did your homework, you can, of course, start creating limited time offers, segmented pricing, as we have already heard, families, singles, couples, customers with dogs and stuff, bundling, upselling things together, length of stay discounts, personalized offers and stuff. Yeah.
Perfect. And this that you mentioned, I think it was super interesting, the Taylor Swift effect, because it's true. Like you can start looking into what's going to happen, not just what already passed, but what's coming, right? And then adjust according to that. And that also means adjusting your website and adjusting your offers and adjusting your communication. So at the end, everything is connected.
And
Anna.
one point there, Jana, I think regardless from where we come in the panelists, I think we can all agree upon how important data has become to know your data, to understand your data, to be able to use your data to make data-driven decisions. We hear it over and over again, and then you need to have access to it and understand it. So I think it's a great point, Marco.
Yes, for sure. I agree. We actually have one question. I'm just going to read it out loud. And it says, during pre-arrival, they think it's quite difficult to get in touch with guests who book through OTAs. So what can we do? I would say there are different things you can do, in this case, different alternatives. And one of them is your system should allow your CRM, your communication system should allow you to communicate specifically with these guests that book through an OTA. So what is the purpose of this? That you can actually get their real contact details. We have a couple examples from our clients, for example, where they get their contact details by actually offering guests like, hey, we want to keep you updated of everything that we have. So let's use your real details instead of the OTA email that you have, right? This facilitates the communication, makes it easier for them. And a lot of people, they actually want to know if you have a package, if you have an offer for them, if you want to, maybe they can get a discount on the breakfast and so on and so on. So they will be willing to share their details, and then you can kickstart the communication with them. So I think that's one viable option. You can create a campaign specifically for them.
I think, Johanna, it's a great question, but I would also like to add, without having access to direct contact details, you have already lost the opportunities for the entire pre-stay phase to create a superior guest journey. And regardless of what you would like to communicate, if it's something that corresponds to cross-selling, upselling, or information, regardless of that, you miss that opportunity to lead the guest through the guest journey if you don't have the contact details. So to answer that question, if you don't have it, it's crucial, or at least very beneficial, to collect that early on in the guest journey, and there are ways to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, to add from upsell point of view, what we did is we have a partnership with OTAs like Booking.com, for example. So what we do is we forward that pre-arrival upselling email to the guests, and this way the communication will still reach them. And through registration card that we can send in pre-arrival stage, we can ask them to fill in their correct details. So these will be mandatory fields for the email, mobile number, etc. So this way you can get the right details.
Yeah, I think getting the right details is definitely crucial. And this is one super important topic, which is direct bookings. Right now, it's not really about the commission anymore, but it's about the access to data, because you want to build the relationship. That's one important aspect now, and it affects, as the question mentions, the communication during pre-arrival if you don't get the right details, just as our panelist already mentioned.
And if I may add one thing from the pricing perspective here, as a revenue manager, sometimes it's quite very small things that needs to take into consideration, because for the hotel or for the revenue manager, it's quite clear. You know your hotel. You maybe have your office around the reception desk, so you know all about it. But now I know that was super exciting when I was in charge of the reservations department for the Rockefeller hotels in Europe. That was really like, when you talk to the customer, try to create a feeling, try to paint a picture around it, you know. And that also includes small things like content, for example. You know, keep your content clean. You know, I mean, some properties have 6, 7 different room categories, and they want to upsell the next room category. It looks so super nice, but regardless whether it's on your homepage or in booking.com, go there, pick the room category. You probably see exactly the same images than the category below, or it has exactly the same explanation. I said, what is the value? Why do you charge me, or why do you want me to charge another 20 euros, 40 euros for this next category, whereby it is the same picture of the bathroom, or that we have just a bucket of flowers or whatever. Just tell the customer why it is so small, similar thing. When, of course, when there is no picture, then we all have nice cameras, and especially for smaller individual hotels that does not need to follow a certain, let's say, architectural digest policy and stuff like that. You can make super nice images, put it in there, but tell the customers why. Why shall I pay 50 euros more?
So interesting, right? Like, actually, so small changes that you can do just to get nicer images, nicer content around what you're trying to sell, and it can make a big difference. Okay, we need to move forward because we have only around 10-15 minutes more. So, and we want to cover all the questions that we had for today to give you guys as many tips as possible. So let's talk again about communication now, but let's not talk about email communication. Let's focus on multi-channel communication this time. Is it good for pre-arrival to have multi-channel communication? Anna, let's look into that. What do you think are the key components to actually build a successful multi-channel communication, and maybe examples on how to leverage the different channels?
Sure. Creating a pre-arrival communication strategy involves planning, as you mentioned a few times already, Marco, and consideration of our audience's needs, expectations, and potential concerns. And I would say an effective and structured strategy could be split into different sections. So first section, I would say, to understand channel preferences. Not all channels work in each country. For example, in the States or in the US, SMS is more common than WhatsApp. So sending out your messages via WhatsApp might not work that well. And it's crucial to look at your data and to understand patterns and behaviors. Second section could be to understand that not every message fits in every channel. Take a look at the intention. If something is more urgent, then messaging channels might be better than email, where the immediate conversion is much higher. But if the content is longer, then an email might fit better than an extended SMS or WhatsApp. Third section could be about consistency and to unify messaging to make the overall impression more professional. And the point I want to make is to offer options. With BookBoost purpose-built CRM, you can send emails, WhatsApp, SMS, and by being multi-channel, you provide options, and it also gives you more opportunities to reach your guest, and that will improve the overall guest experience and in addition, increase guest satisfaction.
I think the key is about giving options. I agree. Like, not everyone uses Gmail or email anymore. Not everyone uses only WhatsApp, right? It's about mixing. And specifically, it's such a great point what you mentioned about not sending long content. Like, please, if you want to send something in WhatsApp, do not send like 2,000 words on the message, because no one is going to read it. If you're thinking about something quick, like, hey, you need to check in, I don't know, like something that is easy to send, then yes, WhatsApp, SMS might be the right choice. But if you're actually like trying to send more detailed information, so more instructions, like longer messages, do not torture your guests with long WhatsApps that they cannot keep up with. I think that was definitely nailing the point. Perfect. Okay, let's continue. And now let's look a bit about personalization. And then, of course, we talk about personalization on the communication, but let's also talk about personalization on the website experience. So, Sabina, maybe you can give us some tips on how hotels can personalize, how can they use the data actually to personalize the website experience for returning and potential guests. What will be the best practices to ensure that you are relevant, but without being intrusive? Because that's a thin line.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I think there's two points that we can make here. One is how to use the data to personalize the offers that we display on the website, and the second is how do we personalize the experience based on other data points and the user interaction with the website. So I'll give a couple of examples. So for those who don't know, at UserGuest, we specialize at displaying notifications on the hotel website that are very tailored, and we have multiple ways of configuring those notifications. So a few examples would be, if you want to personalize the offer, you know that probably your domestic market has books more last minute than, let's say, someone traveling from the States, if your hotel is based in Europe, for example. So you can target specific notifications only to the domestic market that fit that criteria. So displaying your last minute offer to the domestic market versus your advanced purchase offer to someone who is traveling from a different long haul market. So that's one way to use this kind of data. Another type that you can use data is by how do they interact with the website. So for example, we have a way of showing notifications only to people who have visited the website more than a couple of times. So 1, 2, 3. So you can display a different message based on how many times they have been on the website already. So we know that some people take longer time to be convinced. Yeah. So maybe you need to give them something a little extra, or just display some of the benefits that already exist, such as late check-in, early check-in, late checkout. That's another example. Another one that I can give is maybe even on during the process of booking. Sometimes the guest is looking for dates that are maybe not available. You can actually navigate them to the next available dates, or if you're part of a hotel group, you can even send them to one of your sister properties if this month is fully booked for you. So these are some of the examples. Another great thing that we've seen is also displaying an exit pop-up as they try to leave the website. You can bring them back and convince them to finish the reservation by giving them an extra discount. Or even we already discussed all the different techniques with the communication. You can have a pop-up on an exit pop-up where they can just give their email address, and you can use basically to receive more offers and future discounts. So these are some of the ways that you can use the way people interact with the website, but also use the data of how markets tend to book in general. And you also asked the question, are they going to be too intrusive? How do we make sure that we're not too much in
Too
people's
pushy.
face? Yeah, but I think that when the communication is personalized and relevant to each individual person's action, and whenever they're getting, basically, you're making it easier for them to find what they're looking for, I think that this is a great way to improve their experience and not make it worse. In this case. Yeah.
For sure. And at the end of the day, you can always try different things. You can test them and you can see how it's resulting for you. And then according to the results, you continue or you stop. But I think it is great if someone is visiting for the third time that you actually show them that you recognize that and like, hey, good to see you again. So what do you think if you actually book this time? I don't know. But you know, something to show a little bit more of that interaction. I think a lot of people will enjoy it. Perfect. Thank you, Sabina. Let's move on. And then Consuela, you gave us before some tips to make the right upselling. But now, can you give us a little bit more about the common mistakes in upselling during pre-arrival? Like, what is it that hoteliers normally do that is not so well that they should stop? Let's talk about this.
Yeah, I think number one will be not communicating with the guest in the right time. So too early, because what we believe is when the guest makes that initial booking, they probably go for that cheapest room, and you know, their budget is done. So at that time, you probably don't want to upsell to them because they already made that purchase. However, if you go and, you know, if you send them the communications 3 to 4 days before their arrival, as I mentioned before, they have that idea of the new wallet. So they're most likely to make the purchase of an upsell. And of course, not to send it too late, like on the day of their arrival when they're stressed with their suitcases probably running around. That's not the right time to send it.
Yeah,
Number two, yeah, you can imagine it could be very overwhelming. Number two, I think, and we've already talked about it today, using poor pictures, lack of right description, and just like Marco mentioned, like a lot of booking engines, you know, the pictures are relevant, the like summaries mentioned iron board, which is really not a key differentiator and doesn't bring any value. Sabina also mentioned like it's not up to date, the description. So these things are very important. Keep it very precise, straight to the point, nice, beautiful pictures. Think about what is the value here to the guest. And also number three would be not personalizing the messaging correctly. For example, sending a romantic package to a lonely business traveler really wouldn't make any sense. And number four, I would say overwhelming with too many offers. You don't want to, you know, send all of the offers that you have out there, all of the rooms, all of the packages, F&B, spa. You want to really, again, going back to personalization, personalize it and send the right thing to the right audience. And number five, again, optimization. Doing everything manually. It is 2024. We want to automate everything as much as possible. And we want to use different channels as well to communicate with the guests and actually communicate with the guest the way that they like to communicate. So whether it is through WhatsApp or, you know, emails. And again, our friends in BookBoost, you guys know it, you know, better than me and maybe can add more, but we already spoke about it today as well. So yeah, I think these would be the main common mistakes.
Very nice. So I encourage you to please take notes of these mistakes, because now you can actually evaluate your strategy and say like, am I doing this? Am I not? Should I change? Should I not? Really nice answer, Consuela. Thank you so much. And let's talk one last time about pricing in this case, because sometimes talking about setting up a pricing strategy can sound a little bit too complicated, maybe something that you in a perhaps small hotel don't know how to do, or you in a mid-size hotel or property just don't have enough time for. So Marco, could you let us know what would be the first steps? Like, what are your top recommendations if hoteliers don't know how to start with a pricing strategy for their pre-arrival?
Sure. I would say, as we've already heard here, important is go back before you start anything, go back to the drawing board. I mean, first of all, you need to know and understand your property and the customers. And that includes, personally for me, three main parts, which is the data-driven insights, going back to data again, focus and make use of that data. I mean, a revenue manager should understand the booking patterns, the guest segments, and competition to develop a baseline pricing strategy. I mean, review past bookings behavior, demand, seasons, events, what went well and why not. Atomize is designed to give real-time insights based on demand fluctuations, market trends, and competitor rates. Second one is automate with an RMS system. Manual adjustments are very time-consuming and prone to human error. Hotels spend far too much time on manual pricing processes, on Excel documents. It takes them hours gathering data and make handwritten calculations. So a sophisticated revenue management system can automatically optimize prices in real time based on demand shifts, enabling even smaller hotels to compete with larger ones. If you're unsure where to start, trust the automated system to generate recommendations and gradually refine your pricing rules as you become more familiar with it.
Yes.
A modern AI-driven RMS requires about 10 minutes on a daily basis to ensure the upcoming up to 720 days are being reviewed and in order. And third is understand the guest journey and the upsell potential. That means pre-arrival, as we already spoke about, is an ideal time to enhance the guest experience through upselling. And my other partners here already spoke about it. But you need to know your guest preferences, which will allow you to offer personalized room upgrades or additional services based on their booking behaviors. And all of this, once you're aware of who your customer is and you understand the guest journey, you know how to segment your audience. That means you need to divide your guests into the different segments: business, leisure, groups, airliners, families, and so on. Then you can create add-on packages, like bundle popular things together, room bookings with increased pre-arrival revenues. That will definitely increase the pre-arrival revenue. Test and experiment it, as we've already heard from Consuela. I mean, it looks nice to have this super duper package with helicopter ride, which is $20,000 and so, but if there isn't, well, if it is too complicated, if it has too many things in there, so give space for the customer as well to decide. Don't overcomplicate it. Avoid packages or offers when they become outdated. And I know that we always had an Easter package available, but look after Easter, did that probably change? Why do we need to spend time and energy on developing something? How many bookings have we made over the last years? And many more. Yeah. And when you know all of that, then you are in the right position to know your customers and to create an upselling offer. Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you, Marco, for sharing. And there you go. So I think the conclusion of today is that when it comes to pre-arrival, it's not just about having a nice website. It's not just about sending a nice message or making a nice offer. It's actually about data and how you are using your data. How well do you know your guests and how much you can personalize? So if you're not doing anything to communicate with your guests, we hope that today has inspired you. This session has encouraged you to start changing things, to shake things up, to start looking in your data and to go ahead and take the leap to communicate with them, to try to upsell, to personalize their website experience, and to set the right pricing strategy to leverage all of this. Thank you so much for joining today. We will see you in our next webinar in October, where we will talk about customer data platforms and how you can use data in your hotel. But for now, it has been all. Thank you so much to the panelists of today. Guys, you've been amazing. Thank you for joining and see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.